college autumn, when golden eucalyptus leaves drifted across the quad, Manus William, the young man with deep, thoughtful eyes full of plans, suddenly felt his heart pause at the sight of Lina Adele. His classmate, a black girl with smoky, misty eyes and naturally flowing hair, carried an air of mystery like a wildflower blooming amid the bustling campus. He remembered that moment clearly. The ivory-gray sky dappled with the last rays of autumn sun, a gentle breeze weaving through the leaves and carrying the fresh minty scent from the little café behind the lecture hall. Manus approached, his greeting trembling with nervous formality, but Lina only smiled, a smile powerful enough to wash away all his worries. "When?" Lina asked softly, her gaze tender yet unwavering. "Will you take me with you to the end of the road?" Manus was startled, feeling as if his heart might burst. For the first time after so many days of confident composure, he had no answer to offer the fragile yet resolute figure before him. Then, under the ancient eucalyptus, where the rows of stone benches held countless student memories, he knelt and gently placed a silver chain bracelet into Lina's hand, a gift symbolizing a bond. "Lina Adele," he murmured into the hushed air, "no matter where we roam across land and sea, I vow wholeheartedly to keep this promise. I will always return, always stand by you, until the final autumn breeze has fallen." Lina leaned forward, her eyes shimmering as she accepted his warm hands. She touched the silver bracelet, her voice trembling. "To me, this is more than a piece of jewelry. It's proof of a love without calculation or measure. I believe in you, and in every path we will walk together." The wind sighed through the branches, leaves twirling slowly, freezing that moment. Two souls, different in skin color and origins, yet united by the same longing for love and protection, gripped each other's hands, exchanging a faith that would carry them through any storm ahead. The school bell rang, signaling the end of class. But for Manus and Lina, time seemed to linger. They sat side by side on the stone steps, sharing the sandwich Lina had grabbed in haste before class. Their conversation unfolded. His dream of researching new technologies, her passion for music, and the private fears she had never voiced. Their long shadows stretched across the steps, blending with the dreamy gold of eucalyptus leaves in the late daylight. Manus whispered, "As long as I have you, I'll cross every boundary." Lina answered with a radiant smile, her lips like a splash of color against the sunset. "And I will wait for you, no matter how long, no matter the distance." If you love sweet and heartwarming moments like this, don't forget to press like to give me more energy, or share your feelings in the comments, and press follow on the channel so you won't miss the upcoming romantic journey. The early winter sky was as gloomy as Manus's mood when he received the call from the family bank. The phone rang in the sweltering midday heat, and in an instant, his beautiful world, the college days, the peaceful moments with Lina, seemed to collapse without warning. "Mr. Manus, there's a serious problem with Ms. Coy's account." The voice on the other end trembled. Manus squinted, fighting to steady himself as he heard millions of dollars dancing across the line. The family fortune, pride handed down through 5 generations, was suddenly teetering before the whirlwind of the market. The clock in his chest told harshly. Manus brushed aside stray thoughts of his rigorous research or the startup exhibition. In his heart, only one urge remained: return immediately. The old pickup groaned along the distant highways, carrying Manus away from the city where he had buried his youth and built his achievements. The weight in every step pressed on him. Is this decision too abrupt for Lina? He wondered. Yet each beat of his heart urged him back toward his family's duty. On his first night in the old family home, Manus stayed awake. The pale yellow light cast shadows over the ancestral portraits, their eyes seeming to question and reproach him. He remembered his father's admonition. The lineage is the root. Never neglect your origins. But Manus's heart ached instead for Lina, for the promise beneath the eucalyptus. The next morning, a cold wind drifted through the window, carrying a faint mist. With an upright posture and a resolute voice, his mother appeared with spreadsheets of financial balancing problems printed on A4 paper. The family office felt more stifling than the old university ever did. Manus listened in silence, nodding as he recorded every figure, only to realize that the distance between him and Lina was now measured in miles and mounting responsibilities. Over the following days, Manus threw himself into endless tasks: morning meetings with lawyers, afternoons consulting treasury advisors, and nights spent poring over documents. Every time his phone buzzed, he longed for a message from Lina. But the screen remained coldly blank. The ache of missing her weighed on him more than ever. Sometimes he would startle at the sight of his college yearbook, a few lines of Lina's sweet words scattered across a page. He turned it over with calm reverence, tears brimming. "Stay confident and courageous, and you will find the light ahead." Those words were like a flickering candle in the darkness, easing some of his exhaustion. But that very promise dragged him into an emotional impasse. Manus wondered, did he have enough strength to keep his vow when his family burden remained so heavy? Night after night, he stepped onto the balcony, gazed at the star-filled sky, and vowed that no storm would ever separate two hearts that had sworn to be together. Finally, Manus put pen to paper and signed the decision. Postpone project, a contract, reschedule weekend appointments. A thrill mixed with trembling excitement rose within him, because he would return to Lina tomorrow, bearing his responsibilities and the love engraved in his heart. Before leaving, Manus visited the eucalyptus tree, the silent witness to his vow. The ancient trunk bowed in welcome, as leaves whispered in the breeze. He knelt and pressed his hand against the rough bark, murmuring, "I return to fulfill my duty and keep my promise. Lina, are you waiting for me?" Eucalyptus leaves drifted down like a gentle symphony in reply. Manus smiled softly, eyes full of hope. No matter how fierce the family storm, it could never wash away the promise beneath this tree. He turned and walked away, his tall, slender figure carrying the passion of a devoted heart. And so the tempest passed, leaving streaks of light promising a radiant tomorrow. Manus walked on, carrying duty, carrying love, and above all, carrying the longing to reunite with Lina after 15 years apart. After the family storm swept through his life, Manus William felt like he'd fallen into an endless maze. In those days, back in his hometown, he braced himself before the sea of bank figures, piling contracts, and urgent coordination meetings. All the romantic recollections of his youth seemed to be pushed into the corner of his memory, giving way to the pressing responsibilities of his lineage. Yet deep in Manus's heart, the image of Lina Adele remained untouched. Each evening after work, as people hurried home, he would look up at the slate-gray sky and imagine her gentle face beneath the eucalyptus leaves of their past. He wondered, how is Lina now? Is she still waiting for me as we promised? On the first day, Manus tried calling and texting. His phone screen lit up with unfamiliar numbers, and he held his breath, only to hear, "Call failed." A strange disappointment crept through his whole body. He tried again, twice, 3 times, but only met endless busy tones. Refusing to give up, he turned to handwritten letters, the oldest but most heartfelt method. Blue ink trembled across the page, each sentence woven with sweet memories and belated apologies. Manus poured out his soul. I let family duty sweep away my spirit, and even forgot the beat of my heart for you." He sealed the letter and sent it by express mail, hoping it would reach Lina's hands. But time flowed like a silent river. Manus waited in vain. A week, 2 weeks, a whole month. Not a single reply. Every evening, he would lay his hand on the unread letter and sigh in regret. Their shared mementos, his yearbook, the silver bracelet, the photo of them beneath the eucalyptus, remained intact, gently reminding him of a love abandoned amid the storm. Far away, Lina Adele faced her desolate landscape. After the family upheaval, she bravely carried on with life on her own. Her 3 little children grew daily. Each smile they wore was her happiness. Yet inside her, an unfilled void remained. The man who should have been their father was the one she loved most. Lina kept every card from Manus, the early letters he had carefully sent, candid snapshots of her, and the silver bracelet nestled in its small wooden box. She placed them in her desk drawer, sometimes taking them out to admire, her eyes glistening. Once, she almost replied to his apology, but hesitated. "I wonder if I still dare to open my heart again." Those 15 years were more than a number. They were days of aching longing, nights she lay awake on cold, stone-edged beds in winter, moments when, closing her eyes, Manus's face appeared vividly before her. Lina vowed that if he ever truly returned, she would show him the love and patience that kept her standing through the storm. For Manus, every sleep brought dreams of the old eucalyptus tree and Lina's soft smile, only to see anguish flash through her eyes as she turned into the sunset. He woke with his heart in knots, telling himself, "I must reach her, explain everything, and never stop yearning to touch that gentle hair." As time passed and his business affairs stabilized, Manus took a week off. He clasped his hands in prayer before setting out for the small town. He carried with him project files and old keepsakes, the wooden box holding the bracelet, the unsent letter from his heart, and a photograph of them sitting on the stone steps before the eucalyptus. Before leaving, he stopped at the bank to send one final letter. "I request permission to return to you, to hand back every ounce of pain and receive the trust you've granted me these past 15 years. He signed his name in large letters, so Lina could recognize it immediately and not mistake the sender. The road home was fraught with obstacles, but Manus walked forward as a victor. Victor over distance, over silence, over fear. For in his heart, the flame of love had never gone out and was ready to blaze anew upon seeing his beloved again. And so the communication void would soon be bridged, allowing 2 hearts to find their shared rhythm again. Manus was certain, under the eucalyptus tree, they would renew their steadfast vow and never lose each other again for another decade. The period following the family upheaval was an unavoidable turning point in Manus William's life. From the college student hunched over piles of books and unformed dreams, he plunged into the relentless churn of the financial markets, where every decision bore the weight of his lineage. From his very first days in the boardroom of the small startup, Manus had crafted a distinctive presence, bright, determined eyes, every word measured and calm, and a work ethic as unyielding as steel. He didn't shy away from late nights building business models or immersing himself in ever-fluctuating numbers. Manus was a rock among the young staff, always knowing how to spark motivation and inspire fresh ideas. Persistence never fails the determined. His debut project yielded spectacular returns, furnishing him with capital for aggressive reinvestment. From blockchain technology and real estate to renewable energy, each sector he conquered was marked by the approving nods of Wall Street's toughest investors. Reaching billionaire status by age 35 became the stuff of legend. Manus William, once a modest young man, now stood at the pinnacle of power. Success on his broad shoulders came hand in hand with travels across the world's financial capitals. In London, he strategized with top experts. In Tokyo, he attended an AI conference. Back in New York, he watched his company's stock price soar. At every event, the business community eagerly awaited Manus's speeches as proof of his macro vision and systematic approach. Yet behind the stage lights lay sleepless nights. While others slumbered in luxury hotel beds, Manus lay awake, counting stars on his phone screen in hopes of a message from Lina. He wondered, where is she now? Are her 3 children sleeping soundly? Surrounded by admiration and authority, he still felt a deep, unfilled void. Amid his profit figures, Manus preserved old keepsakes, the now tarnished silver bracelet, the hastily printed photograph on campus, and the small journal Lina had penned a few words for his graduation. Sometimes he would take them out, study every detail, and ask himself, is there still a woman somewhere waiting for me as I promised? All the money in the world could not buy peace of mind. He realized, true success isn't measured by bank balances alone, but by the hearts beside you, sharing joy, sorrow, and ambitions. The day Manus stood on that grand stage, raising a glass in celebration before thousands of admiring eyes, his heart felt parched. The applause thundered like echoes in an empty hall, reminding him that power cannot kindle the warmth of true love. One quiet Saturday afternoon, when the office had fallen still, Manus quietly closed his door and descended the stairs. He paused in the corridor, where he had once posed for photos with colleagues, and pressed his hand against the railing, gazing out at the bustling city. The evening breeze brought a chill, reminding him that silences must be filled even in the city's vibrant dance. Recalling the oath beneath the eucalyptus tree years ago, he knew he could not let life's storms wash away his promise. The road to success would continue to widen, but his most excellent destination was no longer career heights. It was Lina Adele's heart, still waiting in that small hometown. Manus silently vowed that the journey to reclaim love would be the most meaningful trip, surpassing every million-dollar contract. Manus smiled gently, in the glow of sunset streaming through the office window. He believed that no matter how rocky the path ahead, a steadfast heart would guide the way, so that one day soon, he and Lina could stand hand in hand, transcending wealth and poverty alike, and continue writing their enduring love story. The limousine glided along the moss-covered cobblestone road, its headlights casting shadows of eucalyptus branches onto the uneven pavement. Manus William sat in the cabin, his solemn face hidden behind dark sunglasses, his gaze quietly following the red-tiled roofs, weathered by time. The bustling city lay far behind him, giving way to the peaceful scenery of the small town, where his love story with Lina began. Memories flooded back to Manus in fragments with every yard closer to the town center. The roadside bakery where they once shared a still warm loaf. The old photo shop where Lina showed him their pictures snapped beneath the eucalyptus in their early spring. The corner ice cream parlor where they strolled hand in hand on weekend afternoons. Somewhere in the air, children's laughter echoed, as if 15 years could never erase the vitality of those days. The limousine stopped in front of the little café Lina managed. A simple wooden sign read, "Lina's Café," in graceful script, bathed in the glow of the setting sun. Manus closed his eyes and inhaled deeply, capturing the rustic fragrance of the town, the scent of freshly roasted coffee mingled with aged wood and the gentle jingle of bicycle bells on the sidewalk. He stepped out, each footfall heavy with emotion. His eyes took in every detail, the white tables and chairs dulled by time, a few abstract paintings on the cafe walls that Lina had painted herself, and the carefully tended potted plants. Everything felt strange and familiar, brushing away the dust of his distant travels. Through the window, a silhouette moved. Manus froze as his heart clenched. There stood Lina behind the counter. She still wore her slender frame, but her skin was warmly bronze, and her eyes held a more profound tenderness, the faint lines around her mouth betraying years of self-reliance. She gently brushed a curl of hair aside, no longer the awkward student he once knew, but a woman who had weathered life's storms. Behind her, 3 small figures danced clumsily across the brick courtyard. Manus's throat tightened at the sight of them. His eldest daughter's high-bridged nose and his round eyes, the second child's tinkling laugh that echoed the early giggles of their courtship, and the little boy, smiling shyly, his dimples a perfect echo of Lina's radiant grin. Swallowing, Manus felt his heart beat wildly at this scene of bittersweet joy. Lina suddenly turned, surprise lighting her face as she spotted the tall figure at the café door. She paused, her expression shifting between astonishment, bashful hesitation, and deep nostalgia. Manus hurriedly removed his sunglasses, revealing his dark brown eyes filled with memories of long ago. It was as if they were looking at themselves 15 years earlier, awkward, trembling, yet brimming with the desire to be together. But between them now stood more than just 2 hearts. 3 curious children peered at this unfamiliar man, squealing with delight as they recognized Uncle, who looked exactly like their father. Manus quietly stepped forward, each footstep echoing the silent confession. "This is my family," though the words remained unspoken, carried only in his trembling gaze. Lina offered a tentative smile, uncertain how to greet him, then bent to call her children over. "Hey kids, come say hello to our guest." The 3 faces beamed and clustered around Manus, their wide eyes fixed on the young man who had once occupied so much of their mother's stories. A familiar warmth flooded Lina's heart, making it flutter in her chest. The café fell into an uncanny hush. The clock on the wall ticked softly, reminding them that fate had come full circle. Manus bowed, his voice husky. "Lina, it's been so long." Lina drew a steadying breath, summoning all her courage to answer the question that had lingered for 15 years. I'm still here," she replied, eyes never leaving her children. "And, in this life, I'm not going anywhere." Their eyes met, brimming with regret, relief, worry, and the longing to reunite the pieces that had drifted apart for too long. Manus glanced at each child's face, then back at Lina, thinking, "My 1,000-mile journey has brought me to exactly this place." And in the cool breath of dusk, beneath the café's warm golden lights, they looked at one another, not as the student and classmate of yesterday, but as 2 grown souls, each bearing responsibilities and unspoken burdens, yet ready to grasp the other's hand and continue the unfinished love story they had begun. The next morning, weak sunlight filtered through the eucalyptus canopy, casting dappled shadows along the winding path to the old school. Manus William stepped slowly past the weathered wooden gate, his heart fluttering as student life memories rushed back. The scent of milk mixed with the faint odor of chalk drifted on the breeze, joined by the cheerful chatter of children, as if the campus itself had come alive with the past. Manus quietly observed the row of stone benches against the fence, where he and Lina once sat and talked. Today, those same benches formed a little stage for 3 small figures lost in drawing. 2 older girls in blue and white uniforms, and their mischievous youngest brother with a backpack, were focused like young artists, clumsy hands, yet innocent, vibrant strokes bringing their world to life. At that moment, Manus's eyes grew misty. He recognized familiar features in their faces. A high, graceful nose, slightly upturned brown eyes burning with curiosity, and especially the half-smile, a smile etched from days when he and Lina laughed beneath the eucalyptus tree. His heart swelled with a blend of awe and joy. Perhaps he truly was the father who had vanished from their memories. He inhaled deeply to steady himself and took a few measured steps forward. His gaze landed on Lina. She stood in the schoolyard in a pale cream sweater, her slender figure unaware of the presence slipping quietly behind her children. Sunlight illuminated her curly hair, forming a warm halo around her slim back, making her look like a wildflower alone on the empty path. Manus fumbled for his visitor card, forgetting to tap it at the security gate. The metal gate creaked loudly as it swung open. Lina jumped, turning around. In that instant, their eyes met across the iron bars, and the world seemed to freeze. Lina, surprised and hesitant, stepped closer to the gate. Manus. Her voice was hoarse, disbelief threading every syllable as she scarcely expected to see him after so many silent years. Her eyes shone with a whirlwind of emotions, astonishment, nostalgia, and unspoken hurt. He offered a gentle smile, his warm voice ringing like a long, heartfelt note. "Hello, Lina. I'm sorry for showing up so suddenly." Lina moved forward, and her 3 children ran to surround him, their eyes wide at the stranger who looked much like their father. She stammered, This is Manus, children. Your father." The kids fell silent, staring at him intently. The eldest daughter tilted her head, whispering to her youngest brother. "I remember Mom's necklace," she said Dad gave her. "It looks just like that." Manus nodded, voice thick with feeling. "I've kept the silver bracelet you gave me. Seeing the 3 of you with her, I finally understand what completeness means." An uncanny hush fell over them. The rustle of leaves, the summer cicadas, and the children's tentative breaths herald a mingling of happiness and poignancy. Lina bent down, smoothing a strand of her eldest daughter's hair, speaking gently. "So many years have passed, yet you remember everything so clearly." He stepped back, looking straight into her eyes. "I was wrong to abandon my vows. But I'm back now, Lina. I came for you, for this family." A tear slid down Lina's cheek, and she brushed it away, voice trembling. "I was worried, angry, and many times I thought I could never open my heart again. But, seeing you with our children, I know I cannot deny the word father, nor can I ignore the bond we shared back then." The 3 children bowed to him, then all at once threw their arms around Manus, their giggles mingling with the rustling eucalyptus leaves. Manus bent down, wrapping each one in a hug, his eyes shining as he looked at Lina. "Thank you for holding on to every memory. Thank you, kids, for allowing me to be your dad." Lina stepped closer, placing her hand on his shoulder, her voice unsteady yet resolute. "This family was apart for too long, but now we will never let each other go again." In that moment, every distance between wealth and poverty, past and present, seemed to vanish. Beneath the towering eucalyptus, whispering its blessings, love and duty converged, painting the sweetest, most complete family portrait. Manus knew in his heart that today's gaze began their journey to heal and build an everlasting home together. Afternoon sunlight poured through the cafe's window panes, casting a shimmering stripe of light across the tiny bubbles atop a cup of cappuccino. Manus William sat quietly in the corner, positioned just far enough to watch Lina's slender figure at the espresso machine. His heart raced each time she bent to measure the coffee grounds, lifted the warmed milk pitcher over the cup, then gently wiped the counter's edge. 15 years had passed without a word. Now the fence of silence had been removed, leaving only a warm, expectant space between them. Manus drew a slow breath and looked at the familiar yet weathered wooden sign. Lina's Café. The aroma of freshly roasted beans mingled with aged wood, summoning memories of sitting together long ago, watching eucalyptus leaves drift down. Soft footsteps sounded behind the bar. Lina carried a tray of pastries toward Manus, her voice soft. "Here. These are sesame balls I made for you." Manus smiled faintly, a wave of tenderness and longing swelling in his chest, for the taste of her cooking, which he had missed all those years. Lina's eldest daughter wandered in, her eyes widening as she spotted Manus. Hesitantly, she said, "Daddy, Mommy told me to bring Uncle here." Manus rose, his knees trembling slightly, knelt to stroke the girl's hair, and softly asked, "Do you remember your father?" She grinned, eyes bright, then wrapped her arms around his neck as if embracing the past itself. Lina watched quietly, a mixture of surprise and vague happiness playing in her expression. She moved opposite Manus, placing her hands neatly on the table, voice gentle. "You've been here all morning, and I didn't dare come out." Manus bowed his head, sincerity in every word. "I was afraid you wouldn't welcome me." His dark eyes grew misty, and he sighed, trembling. "For 15 years, I thought of you every day. I regret letting family duty sweep me away without saying goodbye. But from today on, I want to make up for everything, if you'll let me." Lina lifted her cup of coffee, took a slow sip, and exhaled, the steam lingering on her lips. She gave a slight nod, marking her decision. "You lost me once, and you lost our 3 children when they were born. They know Daddy from pictures, but they've never felt the lullaby of your promise. I don't know whether to be happy or sad that you've returned." They fell silent, surrounded by the cafe's hum, the grinder whirring, plates clinking, snippets of conversation from other patrons. The space seemed divided, then suddenly glowed when Manus slowly produced from his breast pocket a small wooden box, the silver bracelet from long ago. He placed it on the table, gazing into Lina's eyes. "I've kept it all these years, and I still want you to wear it." Lina stood still, her small hand brushing the bracelet's surface. Memories flooded back. The moment he clasped it on her wrist beneath the eucalyptus tree, his vow echoing in her heart. Her youngest child, wearing an identical bracelet her mother gave, stepped forward to touch it. "Mom, I have one of these from you." Lina managed a bittersweet smile as she watched her child. Manus looked at the 3 children, then back at Lina, voice earnest. "I came back not only for you, but for our family. I know I owe the kids a father, and I owe you a faithful husband." Lina studied Manus's face, the tension in his features, the silver strands at his temples, then lifted her eyes, filled with tears. "You've changed so much, but the love you have for me and our children, that remains?" Manus said nothing, only nodded, extending his arms as if to embrace the entire cafe, meaning, "I will prove it with every day of the rest of my life." At that moment, the late-day light turned golden. The drinks on the table, the tray of sesame balls, and the silver bracelet bore witness to a journey once broken and now mended. Lina offered her first genuine smile after so much reserve, murmuring, "We will begin again together." And so, their meeting after 15 years, amid the footsteps and chatter of other customers, became the prologue to a new chapter. A mature, deepened love, binding 2 hearts and an entire little family full of memories and hope. Late afternoon lights slanted through the cafe's curtains, casting a warm glow across the old wooden table. Manus William drew a deep breath, his solemn gaze following Lina Adele's gentle movements as she carefully lifted the small framed photo beside her cooling coffee. In the frame was the picture of Lina and him from their final year of college, her sweet smile mingling with his shy eyes beneath the eucalyptus tree. It was proof of a promise, now gathering dust with time. Lina smoothed her fingertips over the photograph, her voice trembling. "Manus, I've kept this close all these years. Whenever I felt exhausted, I'd look at it to remind myself of our heartfelt vows. But that very image also filled me with pain." Manus leaned forward, his hand brushing the frame, his heart tightening. He knew this moment was not a frivolous reunion, but the instant when she needed his most sincere explanation. Lina poured more milk into her cup, the warm sweetness rising. She sighed, her eyes drifting as if searching the past. "When you left, I thought I could be strong enough to face everything. Those 3 children born to me were joy, and also a burden. I had to handle daily expenses alone, care for infants, and keep the café from collapsing. After my children fell asleep each night, I'd sit alone on the doorstep, listening to the wind whisper through the eucalyptus, and ache inside." Tears brimmed in Manus's eyes. He bowed his head, his voice thick. "I never imagined you would endure such loneliness. When I left, I thought it would only be for a short time. But I was gravely mistaken." Lina tilted her head, a tear tracing down her cheek. "I did receive some of your letters. I read and reread them, feeling your genuine affection, but I also sensed your helplessness, urgency, and confusion. I didn't know how deeply you were caught up in your obligations, so I kept silent, telling myself, he must have forgotten me. Then, when my children were born, I realized I was no longer that innocent girl. I had to protect them from any fracture, even though my heart once loved you so fiercely." Manus lifted his head, his eyes reddened as he looked straight at Lina. "I understand now. Throughout those years, your love wasn't just vows on paper. It was a courageous journey carrying your small family. I regret leaving you alone to the deepest part of my soul." Lina pressed her fingers lightly to the edge of the frame, as if entrusting him with her faith. "I don't blame you. I want you to understand that love must be nurtured steadily. It cannot survive on promises alone. Whenever you were absent, I would ask myself, will he ever return? Then I'd answer, how much longer can I wait?" Silence settled over the room, broken only by their breathing. Manus bowed his upper body, placing his hand over his heart to affirm a new pledge. "My dear, I am here not only for our promise, but because I want to be by your side every day. I don't want you to bear the weight alone any longer." Lina closed her eyes, the cafe's cozy coffee aroma softening the stillness. She laid her hand atop his, her voice quiet but unwavering. "If you're sincere, let me see your actions, not hear grand declarations. Please share with me the mornings taking the kids to school, the afternoons bringing them home, and the nights awake worrying about dinner. I need you to be my support, not just once, but for a lifetime." Manus nodded, determination shining in his eyes. "I promise. From this day onward, my life will be intertwined with you and our 3 little angels. I will never let you face another lonely moment." Lina opened her eyes, the faint sadness in her smile replaced by hopeful light. She smiled brightly, as tender as an eucalyptus blossom in full autumn bloom. In that moment, their hearts held no distance, beating in unison with a sweet new promise. And in the warm, scented comfort of the café, love and responsibility wove together to create a new harmony, a melody of forgiveness, rekindled trust, and the promise of a complete, joyful family future. Morning sunlight streamed through the small cafe window. Dew dappled on the eucalyptus leaves in the front yard. Manus William sat slowly into an armchair, cradling a warm ceramic mug as his eyes lifted to follow 3 little feet pattering down the stairs. Their childlike gazes, mischievous and clear, tracked him with equal curiosity and surprise, tugging at his heart. He offered a gentle smile and stroked his eldest daughter's curly hair. She looked up and teased, "Daddy, you're an early riser. I thought Uncle, who sat quietly in the cafe yesterday, would sleep in." Her innocent tone startled him. He was still a stranger in her eyes. Yet at that moment, he knew he must build their father-child bond through the smallest gestures. He swept her into his arms, sunlight filtering between their fingers to trace playful patterns on the wooden floor. "I'm learning how to be a good dad. Will you help me?" he asked, his voice half pleading. She squinted with a grin. "Yes. Teach me how to play with dolls, okay?" Behind them, her two younger siblings tumbled down one after the other. The middle child, a boy, grasped his hand and looked up. "Daddy, do you know how to sing a lullaby?" His unmistakable voice sounded to Manus like the first notes of a happy song from deep within his soul. He nodded. "I will sing to you, but only after Mommy makes your milk." The youngest dangled beside him, her wide eyes regarding him like a newfound friend. She tilted her head, chubby cheeks like floating clouds, and whispered, "Daddy, hold me." Manus lowered his arms and gently lifted her, their faces playing close together, an intimate first embrace that underscored care and connection. For a moment, Manus leaned back in the chair. The three children gathered on his lap in eager expectation. In the warm space, he softly sang, "Sleep now, dear child, in dreams so sweet, moonlight glimmers through the pane. Father stands by you forever to keep. May rosy dreams forever remain." The youngest closed her eyes, her breathing slowing, her tiny fingers curling around her father's shirt. Manus gazed at these three small lives, drifting toward slumber, and a profound joy swelled in him. He was their father, their steadfast support. When the lullaby ended, he gently set them on the little stools by the faux fireplace and whispered, "Tomorrow, Daddy will teach you how to paint." The children cheered in unison, their eyes sparkling with delight. He felt a new chapter inscribed in his life, the chapter of fatherhood. Not just recognition, but trust and a lifetime of exploring the world together. Lina entered, her radiant smile lighting the children's faces before resting on Manus's eyes, brimming with happiness. She touched his shoulder. "Seeing you with our children like this, I know you'll do wonderfully." Manus turned to her, his dark eyes softened with affection. "Thanks to you and them, I've learned what unconditional love truly means." Laughter rang through the sunlit living room. Manus looked at Lina, then at their three little ones, recognizing that the long 15-year journey had brought him exactly where he belonged, beside the woman he loved, and the three lives bearing his blood. The children's bright gazes today stood as the clearest testament that a father's love would continue to grow strong and enduringly ever after. As Lina walked her eldest child to school that morning, Manus followed closely along the cobblestone street. Gentle sunlight illuminated Lina's chocolate-curled hair, yet it could not dispel the judging glances and hushed whispers behind them. "He's a billionaire, chasing after a single mom. I wonder how long it will last. Rich folks should marry someone of their class, not someone who's struggled." Malicious comments floated from the old apartment block where Lina grew up and later opened her cafe. She and her child were used to hidden wariness behind neighbors' friendliness, but today, the atmosphere felt heavier than ever. Lina squeezed Manus's hand, her lips pressed tight to conceal stinging hurt. She lowered her head, fighting back tears. Manus saw this, halted, and steadied her elbow, his voice warm and low. "I'm here. No one can hurt you or our children." But his reassurance was like a passing breeze. Upon entering the school gate, they encountered an invisible wall of prejudice. A teacher shook her head quietly. Lina, your father is so capable. Why has he let your children go without support? Other parents surreptitiously snapped photos of Manus, the billionaire, and posted them online, attaching cruel remarks about their odd relationship. Lina accepted it all in silence. She ushered her daughter into class, then turned back to Manus, determination shining in her eyes. I'm not asking you to defend me, but give me time to prove that our family deserves this happiness. Manus sighed softly and kissed her forehead. I will stand by you in whatever way you need. After leaving the school, they walked along the patterned brick pathway. Suddenly, Lina's old friends gathered outside the general store, gazes flicking over Manus before showing visible discomfort. One longtime friend said, Lina, why would you let him come here? He's wealthy and powerful. Aren't you afraid of his mother's disapproval? Lina turned, voice gentle but resolute. I don't live for other people's opinions. He is the father of my children and the man I chose. The group shook their heads and smirked before walking away, leaving Lina and Manus alone on the empty street. Manus placed a hand on her shoulder, pride filling his eyes. You're stronger than you realize. They arrived at the café, its warm interior a peaceful haven amid the storm. But as they stepped inside, the neighboring shop owner called out, So even billionaires know how to drink ordinary coffee? Lina furrowed her brow slightly, but Manus smiled, refusing to let the comment hurt her. He turned and replied calmly, Lina's coffee is the only brew I truly love. In the forced laughter of passing customers, Lina locked the door and powered up the espresso machine, her voice quiet but unwavering. I know. I have nothing more to prove. That afternoon, they cleaned the cafe together, hand in hand. Despite the swirling gossip, every small table, each bookshelf, and the potted plants stood as proof of their unshakable faith. Manus watched Lina skillfully pour cappuccinos, her agile hands moving with practiced ease, and admired, You've overcome a mountain of prejudice. Now it's time for us to face the challenges together. He clasped her hand under the cafe's warm lights and silently vowed, We will turn those scornful looks into applause. Our love won't just survive. It will shine brilliantly. Thus, the challenge of bridging rich and poor became the forge that tempered their love, teaching them that sometimes the most significant strength lies in resilience and trust in each other, regardless of the invisible lines society draws. Late afternoon light filled the grand villa on the hillside, the fiery sunset staining the living room's glass walls in brilliant red. Manus William entered, still clutching his business proposal, but his mind spun as he heard the measured tones of the powerful woman seated in the velvet armchair. It was his mother, Eleanor, graceful in a golden silk gown, her sharp eyes like an eagle poised to take flight. Manus, she began in a velvety voice laced with authority. I hear you've returned to that hard-luck woman with 3 children. Her hand pressed down on the ornate teacup, sending tendrils of steam spiraling upward. Our family needs a suitable bride, someone of distinguished birth, top-tier education, and a fortune that preserves our lineage's prestige. And she merely runs a small cafe and has 3 children. Do you think I choose wisely? Manus bit his lip, his expression silently pleading. Mother. He bowed his head, striving to keep calm. Mother. Lina is more than an impoverished girl. She is the woman I love, who waited for me for 15 years. And those 3 children are mine. Eleanor raised an eyebrow coldly, her smile a thin blade across the room. You're a billionaire, Manus. You must uphold our family's reputation. Marriage is an alliance between two lineages, not an act of charity. Don't let your heart blind you. In that moment, the tender echoes of their vows beneath the eucalyptus tree seemed swallowed by the room's chill. Manus clenched his fist, determined not to let his mother's demands sway him. He stepped forward, hands on the table, steel in his voice. You may despise Lina's background, but you have no right to deny my happiness. I'm not forcing you to accept her, but I will not abandon her. Eleanor leaned back, anger and disappointment flashing in her eyes. If you insist, I will not be gentle. I will arrange a lavish wedding for you with Miss Anderson. The Andersons are wealthy, powerful, and the perfect match for our family. As for Lina, her future is yours to decide. Manus's throat tightened at the thinly veiled threat. He imagined Lina's heartbreak if she learned his mother planned to marry him off to someone else. His anger flared, and then his faith in their love steadied him. Mother, Lina doesn't fear titles. She only wants to build a home with me. Those 3 children are my responsibility, not yours. Eleanor narrowed her eyes, weighing his words carefully. She precisely spoke each phrase. If you break with me for love, you will suffer the consequences. You will receive no financial support or inheritance. All the privileges and assets you were to enjoy will be suspended. Silence fell like a weight. Manus cleared his throat, fingers trembling with fury and resolve. He swept aside her teacup and met his mother's slate-blue gaze head-on. You may strip me of your favor, but you cannot confiscate love. I choose Lina and our children. I am willing to sacrifice our family legacy to be with them. Eleanor sprang to her feet, the armchair rolling back and leaving a dent that marked who truly owned the house. She approached Manus, eyes challenging. If you do this, don't expect my forgiveness. Our lineage will disown you. Think carefully before you proceed. Manus lowered his gaze momentarily, then lifted his head with radiant determination. The family may hate me, but I cannot live without love and responsibility to my children. I will do whatever it takes to protect my little family. Eleanor sighed softly, her stern eyes reflecting regret and resolve as she stepped back. There will come a day when you face the consequences. Prepare yourself for that day. And so, in the gold-tinted dusk, leaking through the glass walls, Eleanor's scheme was revealed like an underground storm, threatening the fragile happiness Manus had found with Lina and their 3 young ones. The battle between dynastic power and genuine love had begun, ushering in the fiercest challenges Manus must overcome to safeguard his heart. Night had fallen, and the faint amber streetlights cast long shadows as Lina walked home with her 3 children trailing behind. She cradled her youngest in her arms, her hand trembling as she stroked the soft curls, striving to stifle the silent sobs she could not voice. Tonight, the cafe's lights were dark. Only the warm embers in her heart glowed with smoke, once the stage for her children's laughter and their promises to the father who had finally returned. Lina opened the drawer and retrieved the small wooden box of keepsakes from her college days, the now tarnished silver bracelet, the photographs of them beneath the eucalyptus tree, and the blue inked cards Manus had once sent. She laid each item on the table, her eyes brimming with tears as she gazed upon the fragments of a heart once shattered. She wondered, does he understand how much pain I've endured? How many nights I have held our children and wept in silence? The letter from his mother, delivered yesterday, is still unopened. Lina recalled its contents. Stay away from my son, Manus, to preserve our family's honor, or face severe consequences. His mother had written harshly in it, your family is unworthy of ours. Let my son marry someone of equal standing. Each line felt like a blade, tearing apart the last threads of trust she had placed in their love. She bowed her head, voice choking. I don't want to leave him, but I fear my children will suffer." The three little ones peered anxiously at their mother, their innocent eyes both needing comfort and sensing the terrible fate about to unfold. Lina brushed away her tears and gently touched her eldest's shoulder. "I will take you to Aunt Hien's house first, then your siblings to Grandma's. I refuse to let our family be dragged into his mother's schemes." Her children sobbed, clinging to her, unwilling to let go. Lina whispered, "My dears, I still love your father, but if I stay, I will become the obstacle between his duty and our family's honor. I refuse to cause him torment, and I refuse for you to bear his scandal. Goodbye, my beloved children." 15 years of memories flooded back, laughter beneath the eucalyptus, two young hearts weaving vows of forever, and then the three little lives born as proof of that steadfast love. Now Lina sighed, voice barely audible. "I'm sorry, Manus. To protect our children, I must leave." The cafe door closed softly behind her. In that moment, her whispered sorrow sounded like a mournful symphony, bidding farewell to a love at life's crossroads. Lina pressed her children close and stepped into the night, her heart heavy with the pain of parting, but resolute in protecting her little ones. The cafe would greet Manus tomorrow morning with emptiness and the final eucalyptus leaf drifting outside in the wind. He would stand amid the broken keepsakes, haunted by the question, is it too late to hold on to her? And he would wonder when, beneath that old tree, their vow could ever be fully restored, when no barrier would remain to keep them from finding each other again. The room was oppressively silent. Manus William stood amid the scattered mementos, the tarnished silver bracelet, the photograph pinned to the wall, and three small wooden chairs neatly lined up by the espresso counter. His hand trembled as he held Lina's letter, the ink blurred by tears. "I'm sorry. I must protect our children. Please don't look for us anymore." Manus's heart felt squeezed. 15 years of waiting, a lifetime spent building his career, all distilled into an empty tote and a gut-wrenching farewell. He lifted his eyes to the window, where the final eucalyptus leaf drifted downward. Each faded green leaf seemed to understand his agony. Memories from just days before, talking beneath the eucalyptus, singing lullabies to the little ones, laughter filling the air, vanished like a passing breeze. He clutched his head, trying to banish the vision of Lina carrying their three children into the night, her face etched with sorrow and resolve. His steadfast love now wavered between his family's demands and a mother's duty to her children. He jumped into his car and drove through the city under a sudden rain. Raindrops splattered the windshield, and streetlights flickered through the downpour. His mother's words echoed in his mind. "If you blindly pursue her, you will lose everything: your company, inheritance, and reputation. Choose a brilliant path, a perfect match in class. Don't let love lead you astray." Each word cut into his heart. He gripped the steering wheel and leaned forward, steeling himself against fear. He had to find Lina, to tell her he chose her and their children, even if it meant sacrificing everything. He followed the final clue, the address of Lina's mother's house, and parked before a low, corrugated iron dwelling. Gasping for breath, he rang the bell. The gate creaked open, releasing the night's cool mist. He heard hurried footsteps from the children, and then Lina appeared in the dim hallway light, surprised and exhausted in her eyes. "Manus," she called softly, then faltered, studying him warily. "Why have you come after us?" He inhaled deeply, gathering courage. "I can't let you and our children slip away in silence. I'm sorry. Sorry that my mother tore you from my life. But I choose you, Lina. I'm willing to give up everything, my fame, my fortune, my name, to be with you and our three angels." Tears threatened to spill from her eyes. Lina bowed, voice catching. "I know how much pressure your mother put on you. I didn't want to corner you. I left only to give you space to think. Now that you've chosen, I'm truly happy for you." Before she could say more, their eldest daughter ran forward, throwing her arms around him, tears glistening in her eyes. "Daddy, please don't leave Mommy and us again." The two younger children burst into tears too, clinging to Manus as if roles no longer mattered, only the comfort of their father. Lina watched this outpouring of love, her lips trembling. "I defended our children, but in doing so, I drove their father away." She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out the old wooden box, placing it before him. "This is where you kept all those memories. Now I entrust them to you." Manus opened the lid and lifted the silver bracelet, the heart-shaped clasp, and the small note. "Let these mark a new beginning." He looked straight into Lina's eyes, voice warm yet resonant. "The road ahead will bring storms, but I believe that with you and our children, no gale can defeat us." Lina smiled gently, touching his heart. "Your heart has found its purpose. Let us move forward together, no matter how rugged the path." In the flickering glow of the little house, their three young ones nestled between their parents, forming a radiant yet straightforward portrait of hope. In that moment, Manus realized that his hardest decision had been made. He chose love, decided to take responsibility for these little lives, and accepted any consequences that might follow. Outside the firmly closed gate, the last eucalyptus leaf rested on the breeze, whispering, "True love is proven by the willingness to risk everything to keep it." Manus squeezed Lina's hand. Their three children looked up at them, and for the first time in 15 years, these four hearts had crossed the terrifying divide and were ready to write the next chapter of an undying, unbroken love. Early that morning, the press arrived in the small town. In front of the café's threshold, reporters had gathered, their cameras panning swiftly to the simple wooden sign, Lina's Café. What had been arranged as a grand PR event for Manus's real estate project was immediately eclipsed by the hotter story of the billionaire who abandoned his fortune to pursue a single mother. Manus appeared at the café's gate, his tailored gray suit outlining his tall, slender frame. His three children clutched their mother's hands, eyes shining with trust and pride. Standing beside them, Lina's fine features radiated determination, tempered by joy. She wore a soft pastel blue dress, her curls cascading loose, setting off the humble scene. Across from them stood the horde of reporters, cameramen, and dozens of lenses hungry for this extraordinary story. An act of defiance against the darkness of prejudice. "Good morning, Mr. William, Ms. Adele," a reporter said politely, tilting her microphone toward Manus. "Sir, today you've publicly revealed your little family. After making this decision, what message would you like to send Eleanor, your mother?" Manus drew a deep breath, his warm gaze recalling the yearning faces of those stone benches from years past. He smiled calmly and measuredly. "I thank my mother for pushing me to be braver. She can always pose difficult questions, but love is not a problem to solve with numbers. Today, I publicly stand by my family to protect Lina and our three little angels, and prove that genuine happiness does not fear narrow-minded scrutiny." No sooner had he spoken than shutters clicked in unison and flashbulbs popped. Unfazed, Manus took Lina's hand and turned to their eldest daughter with a gentle grin. "Are you proud of your mom and me?" The little girl nodded, her eyes bright. "I'm very proud." Lina tilted her head, emotion shining in her eyes. She spoke on behalf of her younger siblings. "Our little family isn't perfect, but it is the result of love and trust. We aren't asking for approval, only to show that two people from different worlds can walk side by side and be happy. A reporter asked, "Ms. Adele, Mr. William has relinquished half his assets to protect this little family. Do you see this as a bell ringing to change the rich versus poor prejudice?" Lina shook her head gently and answered warmly, "I don't believe my father gave up anything. In truth, he has gained intangible treasures: love, responsibility, and moments of peace. Those are the most precious assets of all." The scene then cuts to footage of the three children waving at the cameras with innocent smiles. Manus bent to embrace them, then looked up at the lenses, as if to declare, "Look here, this is the answer to every prejudice." What had been a real estate launch turned into the debut of a new family, where every laugh, every warm glance, and every tight embrace spoke the truth that love conquers all social barriers. In the last rays of the sunset, the image of Manus and Lina, hand in hand, surrounded by their three children, filled the large screen, a living proclamation that true love will always find its way into the light. And when the stage lights dimmed and the café returned to its cool, quiet calm, only the glow of dusk lingered on the bookshelves, and a faint curl of steam rose from a solitary coffee cup. This public struggle sparked fresh attention for the project. It rekindled the steadfast flame in Manus's and Lina's hearts, assuring them that, no matter the challenges ahead, the light of their openly declared love will always guide their tiny family home to happiness. The dawn's first light filtered through the eucalyptus canopy, illuminating the path to the little house nestled beside the crystal-clear lake. The air was fragrant with jasmine blossoms and the aroma of freshly baked pastries, each breath a hymn heralding the start of the William Adele family's private paradise. That morning, Lina donned a pristine white silk gown, its long train fluttering like a butterfly's wing in the early sunlight. Manus stood waiting at the outdoor altar, resplendent in his deep navy suit, his eyes brimming with happiness and pride. Their three little angels ran onto the platform, each clutching a delicate bouquet of baby's breath, their shy smiles and sparkling eyes lighting up the scene. The declaration of marriage rang out amid the summer cicada's song and the cheers of friends and family. Manus gently took Lina's soft hand, his lips curving in a smile that held countless promises. To stand by her every day, every moment, sharing joy and sorrow, and shielding one another for life. Lina leaned in, her cheeks flushed rose pink, her warm, luminous eyes answering with a sweet vow, never to let his heart be lonely again, always to cherish their tiny home with their three precious children. After the ceremony, the lakeside setting became a tranquil fairyland. Manus carefully helped Lina into a wooden boat, their three children wrapping their little arms tightly around his legs, laughter ringing as the oars rippled the calm water. The lake sparkled like scattered emeralds, and the breeze whispered through the branches as if beating in time with the heartbeat of their new family. On the grassy shore, a simple wedding feast unfolded on a white linen cloth, lanterns suspended overhead casting gentle hues. Friends, colleagues, even Eleanor, now wearing a proud smile, raised their glasses to the journey that had overcome hardship to reach this happy haven. Soft music played as the couple shared their first kiss, sweet with the taste of wine and sunflower blossoms, while everyone cheered. In that moment, Lina rested her head on her husband's shoulder and whispered, 15 years was a long journey, but I regret not a single moment, because it led us to this completeness. Manus held her close, his voice low and warm. I chose you and our three little angels, and I will keep my vow beneath the eucalyptus tree forever. The celebration lasted as the sunset deepened, turning the lake into a diamond mirror. Afterwards, they strolled with their children beneath radiant bougainvillea blooms, sharing sweet moments, children's laughter, tender glances exchanged, and a sky glittering with the Milky Way. When night fell, the little house by the lake glowed with warm lights, filled with lively conversation and the scent of the evening breeze drifting through open windows. Manus and Lina sat together on the balcony, watching their three angels asleep in their laps. Lina gently rested her head on his shoulder and whispered her love. "We have weathered so many storms, and now I know I have found the most peaceful harbor." Manus brushed her hair back and kissed her forehead. "Thank you for believing in me, waiting for me, and writing this love story that transcends all boundaries." And so the story closes, but the journey of happiness begins anew. The William Adele family will continue to greet each sunrise together, sharing life's horizon to its very end, under the eucalyptus tree that once bore witness to their steadfast vows. If you've been captivated by this journey of love through trials and triumphs, don't forget to like, comment with your thoughts, and follow the channel so you won't miss the next delicate romantic tales.